TarkovTV Podcast, we got a ton of new information. I've already made a video covering all the new information about the new arena mode that's coming to Escape from Tarkov, but in today's video, I'm going to show you the first ever in-game look of the Lighthouse expansion that is coming in the next patch, along with a wipe. Now, the in-game look we had doesn't show the game in much detail. They like us to experience it for ourselves, but when they were walking around this new expansion, there's a couple of things that I'd like to point out, and in case you haven't seen it, it looks pretty cool. So we start off this clip by walking down that pathway that you go to get shot at by the sniper scav for that Lighthouse quest currently, but you'll realise that you ain't getting shot by the sniper anymore, and you can just run around in there. So you'll see that there's a barricade telling you if you go any further you're going to get shot, and we can just go further. The gate is now open, and we can walk across this bridge. Now this does look like the only way across to the new expansion area. I can see a few problems with that, and I'm sure you will do in a second as well. There's tons of car cover along this bridge, which is good, but again, you're going to be running in the open, and if this is the only way across, then it can cause some issues. But getting across to the other side straight away, we can see a couple of multi-story houses here that could be barracks and stuff like that. They don't actually go inside them, they only go inside one and in one room, and in there we can see an office style building. So you come up towards the gate and the doorway to enter this area. So you can go around the houses to the right hand side there, or you can go inside them and through, similar to how the factory shortcut works. But you go in and there is a small office with a PC that you can loot in there. Really cool, nice and easy to loot through as you're walking past. But there's a ton of windows in this that we need to be careful of. And then you come out and you've got the lighthouse staring at you directly in the face. You've got two pathways you can take. You've got one to the left which goes uphill, and you've got one to the right which goes down towards the water's edge. They don't actually go down towards the water's edge, but from when they go up high you can see it sort of quite clearly, and you can see that there is just a few boxes down there, a sort of pier area. But in this area you can see some garages and a couple of multi-story buildings as well. And then after that they start going uphill, and uphill is what will take you towards the lighthouse itself, but it also splits off to the left again, and this is sort of like a small military compound similar to what we see in the night area of reserve. You've got a small dome here, and you've got a couple of buildings. Inside these buildings again are more offices, but I can imagine there's a few with weapon boxes and stuff like that. There's also a couple of safes in here. So it's a good area to loot, especially if you're passing through. And again, I can imagine there is going to be tons of different smaller rooms and locked rooms in this area as well, which contain higher tier loot. Coming outside again now, you've got a large vehicle depot as well as a larger military building, but the main thing I want to point out is up on these rocks here. As you can see all over the expansion from these rocks, including the pier area, but you can also see a very good overlook from over here on the only entrance point to the Lighthouse expansion by the looks of it, which means whoever's there first is going to have a clear line of sight on anyone coming this way. A bit of a pain, but as you can tell, it's Tarkov, it's meant to be unforgiving. And then making your way up to the lighthouse, get closer to it. But from what Nikita said slightly earlier on in the podcast was that the actual lighthouse itself isn't going to be accessible straight away from when the update releases. It will be eventually, and a couple of in-game events will make that possible, and then you'll need certain access to get inside that area. The way I see it going, and the way I sort of understood it when he was explaining, was it's sort of going to make the lighthouse map turn into something similar to how Labs works, where you need a keycard to actually access the map. I don't know whether that's the case or just to access that area, but who knows, it'll be interesting to see nevertheless.
So once again we will try to reach the lighthouse to show you the expansion. So the thing is, right after the patch will hit, everybody will have an ability to actually visit the lighthouse location, but not the actual lighthouse building, and this is just for now, and later with the set of events the lighthouse area will be closed and you will need to special access to be there.
and I'll be excited to see more. That's literally all we saw from the expansion, but it does look good. It's pretty vast, there's a ton of vertical terrain that we can explore and get some advantage points on people, and there is also different buildings. That's something we haven't seen before, like the multi-story buildings as soon as you enter. I can imagine they've got tons of like bedrooms similar to how the dorms are set out, and obviously offices as well, like we saw when they entered. I know it isn't a massive sort of deep dive into this area, but I'm sort of feeling like it's a little bit lackluster. I know that the map's already huge and I couldn't have expected a massive amount extra. We also haven't seen the interior of the lighthouse and how detailed that is, but as an expansion goes, it's a pretty small one, and I don't know why they couldn't have released Lighthouse as a whole all in one when Lighthouse was released anyway. They could have just postponed the whole Lighthouse map in general and just released it all in one. I like the idea of having special access to get into the Lighthouse itself, and obviously you've got the in-game trader in there as well, which whenever that will be, but it seems a bit like there isn't much going on. There's obviously vertical terrain, you've got that small military compound, you've got the lighthouse, and you've got a couple of buildings, and then obviously the port area, which you didn't get a good look at. But other than that, it just seems like it's another extra way to loot around, and obviously a hub area for the Tarkov trader. One cool piece of information though is the rogue bosses on this map, the 3 rogues that were teased. They're actually going to be roaming scav bosses. So similar to how we've seen in events where Tagilla will go and visit his brother on interchange and stuff like that, well, they're also going to do the same, just at random points visit different maps, customs, shoreline, lighthouse, etc. That's what Nikita was discussing. I think it's a really cool way of going about it, so you never know where they're going to appear, and you actually have to look for them rather than just going, well, I know that this scav boss spawns here, so I'm just going to keep running to that location. It makes it quite interesting, especially because Big Pipe has that MGL, and that's scary. We actually saw a look at that in the podcast as well, and it's a bit scary. I'm glad that we can't buy it, and we actually have to find it off of him, and it can't be resold on the flea market, that's for sure. Of course, as always though, I want to hear your thoughts and feelings down below in the comments, so just go down there, let me know what you think. Rant and rave if you don't think it's good enough, praise it if you do, and of course let us know what you think about when the wipe will happen along with this patch. Let me know if you think it's a week away, 2 weeks away. Let's just have some speculation down there. And if you don't know and you just want to be nice and help the algorithm out to boost this video, then just leave a nice emoji down there because that always helps too. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and goodbye.